Hello, my name is Emma, and today I'm going to be talking about some debut authors that I absolutely love. Over the last 3 years or so, I have discovered so many fantastic debut authors that I really love, and I'm so blessed to be able to support from the start of their careers. I love these authors and their books so much, and I'm just so excited to talk about them with you guys today. This video does contain a paid promotion by Disney Book Group for the release of Little White Lies by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. If that author sounds familiar to you, you might have heard of the Natural series in the past, which is one that I've been talking about on my channel for years because I love it so much. She's come out with a new young adult contemporary novel and I'm so excited for it. Our main character's name is Sawyer. She's an 18-year-old auto mechanic, very interesting protagonist setup, and her entire life changes when her estranged grandmother offers her a 6-figure deal to work in a debutante season. Sawyer herself didn't actually think she'd agree to start, but she discovers that it would be a really great opportunity to finally discover her father's identity, so nonetheless, she signs up for a year of pageants. Along the way, Sawyer befriends some of her fellow debutantes and starts to get to know them as well as some of their own dark secrets, as they also have powerful families, and it just seems like a really interesting story. I'm personally really excited for this book. I feel like the whole southern debutante atmosphere, especially with a very not that main character, would be really interesting. And also, I've already read from Jennifer Lynn Barnes in the past and I really love her work, so I'm excited to see something new for her. Little White Lies is in stores now. You can go check it out at your local bookstore or library, and hopefully we'll both enjoy it. But for now, in the theme of debutante season, I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite debut authors. For this video, I'm going to be talking about some authors that have published their debut novel between 2016 and the end of 2018. It's mostly YA authors, but I also have a middle grade author and an adult author as well, so I'm super excited for this video. In March of 2016, Amber Smith published her debut novel, The Way I Used to Be. This story follows a girl named Eden who is raped by her brother's best friend in her own bedroom, and it essentially follows Eden through her 4 years of high school from freshman to senior year, and not only how this trauma affects her, but also how keeping the secret entirely to herself really shapes her personality and the way she grows. I loved The Way I Used to Be so much. I've talked about it non-stop since I read it earlier this year. It was just so impactful. This book is a beautiful exploration of trauma and sexual assault. It takes care of this issue in such a gritty, authentic way that I feel is also still respectful to people who have the same experiences as Eden. I was also really impressed by the way the author captured the time jumps in this book. I feel it's very hard to capture 4 years in a single standalone contemporary novel that's only 300 pages, so I thought that went across really well. You totally could see the change over time in Eden as she grows from a young teen into an older teen, but also a lot of the core parts of her are still evident throughout that time, and it was just beautifully executed. After finishing The Way I Used to Be, I picked up Amber Smith's second novel, The Last to Let Go. I love authors whose different books have the same cover style. It makes my heart so happy. The Last to Let Go follows a girl named Brooke whose life is turned upside down when she comes home one day to find that her mother has murdered her abusive father and is now in jail. This is another extremely emotionally heavy novel about what it is like to be a child of domestic abuse, but also what it is like to be a teen who has so much responsibility on their shoulders and has to do everything in their power to keep their life from pulling apart at the seams. In my opinion, Amber Smith is an immensely talented author. It's evident in her debut and her follow-up story. She has a third book coming out about a transgender character, and I'm just so pumped for anything this woman publishes. I'm so encaptured by her stories. They really make me feel something, and I honestly feel like a changed person after finishing each of her stories, which is so amazing. So if you haven't read anything from Amber Smith yet, I would highly recommend both of her books. Next up, in November of 2016, Audrey Coulthurst published her debut novel, which was Of Fire and Stars. Our main character is named Denna. She's engaged to the prince of another kingdom in a political marriage, but this creates some problems for her as she has the ability to control fire in a land where magic is forbidden. Once Denna arrives at the castle, there is a shocking twist of fate as Denna falls in love with the prince's sister named Mare. I loved A Fire and Stars so much. This is one of the most like fantastic debut fantasy novels I've ever read. The magic system wasn't perfect, but for a debut novel, I thought it was really complex and unique and expressed well throughout the story. I always say this, the chemistry between Denna and Mare is infectious. It is electrifying. Just every time I was reading a scene between the two of them, I had butterflies in my tummy and my breath was caught in my throat. Ugh, they just made me feel so many things. Denna and Mare honestly changed the game for how I view YA relationships. Like, I expect everyone to have the same level of chemistry that Denna and Mare do. Otherwise, like, you can be kicked to the curb. And then this March, Audrey Coulthurst released her second book, which is sort of like a prequel to A Fire and Stars. It's set in the same world and it is called Ink Mistress. Our main character's name is Azra, and she is a demigod who has the ability to dictate the future by writing in her blood. Azra is dating a girl from the village named Ina, and Ina asks Azra for some help by using her blood magic, so Azra obviously complies, but things take a turn for the worse when, as a result of her magic, bandits end up attacking Ina's village and killing everyone she's ever known. Ina sets off to kill the king in revenge for not offering more assistance to her village, and Azra has to go off and find her and stop her before it is too late. Personally, I did not love Ink Mistress as much as I loved A Fire and Stars. I just felt like for a book that is supposedly set in the same world, they felt like two entirely different magic systems. The world building was very different for some reason, and it just didn't feel cohesive, but it was still like a good fantasy story that I'm happy I read. There is a sequel to A Fire and Stars, I believe, coming out next year, and it just warms my little heart. I can't wait to read more of Denna and Mare's story because the ending just left me needing more. But nonetheless, I love Audrey Coulthurst. I can't wait to see what she reads in the future. I just think she's a very talented fantasy writer who does include some really diverse characters as well, and I just want more people to experience these stories. Next up, in January of 2017, we have a debut novel that I have been talking about since 2016, and that is A List of Cages by Robin Rowe. This book follows two boys named Adam and Julian. Many years ago, Julian was living in Adam's home as a foster child until he was removed, and they like haven't seen each other in 5 years. Until one day, Adam finds out that he is assigned to bring a kid to his counseling appointments with a school social worker, but he finds out that that kid is actually his past foster brother, Julian. So it's a story of these two people who were once strangers, then family, then strangers again, finally beginning to reconnect and sort of exploring how they have changed and what has happened in those 5 years that has turned them into the people that they are today. This book is so moving and impactful. Like, my heart is just like contracting at the thought of it. I don't know if it's doing that because I am sad at all of the really terrible things that happen in this book, or if I'm happy with like how beautiful this story is. It's probably a combination of the both. While I was reading, I could honestly feel myself changing as a person, and it has just really stuck with me over the last almost 2 years now that I've been talking about it. It's just a book that I can't seem to forget about, and that is like so amazing to me. The next author to debut in July of 2017 is Amanda Foody with Daughter of the Burning City. This is a fantasy novel that takes place in a traveling carnival called Gomorrah, where our main character, Serena, has the ability to create illusions out of thin air. These illusions have their own appearances, their own personalities. They are able to interact like fully formed people, but they are not real, which makes things very confusing when there is someone in Gomorrah who is killing off Serena's illusions one by one, and she doesn't know, number one, why, or number two, how it's even possible. I feel like I have started every introduction to a new debut like this, but I love this book so much. Amanda Foody writes these really intricate, unique magic systems that like I don't feel are similar to any other YA book out there. She's just so creative. Her characters are so lovable and easy to get attached to. She writes really diverse casts with many people from the LGBT community as well as people of color. It's just all so good. Also, the mystery in this book was really compelling in my opinion. It's definitely the type of mystery where like my heart was counting the entire time. I was switching back and forth every 5 seconds. I could not figure out who the killer was, and it was just a great reading experience. And then earlier this year, Amanda Foody published her second novel, which is Ace of Shades. Ace of Shades is another fantasy novel that follows a girl named N whose mother has been kidnapped, and so she has to travel across seas to the city of New Rains, otherwise known as the City of Sin. It is essentially an alternate Las Vegas, or as Amanda Foody refers to it as an actual Atlantic City alternate universe, where N's only lead is a boy named Levi, who happens to be one of the most notorious crime lords in the city. Despite that title, Levi is in a bit of a difficult situation as he is helping run a Ponzi scheme that is going really badly. So the thing he needs is money, and N ends up offering him money to help her travel across New Rains to find her mother. Every time I think of Ace of Shades, I just get a smile on my face because I love this book so much. The atmosphere of this book is unparalleled. It has this really wonderful balance between fun and amusing and exciting while also being dark and scandalous. It's like a very gritty, mature young adult novel, but it is still so entertaining. Again, Amanda Foody is just killing it with the unique magic systems. I could honestly just spend hours stripping down each individual aspect that contributes to such a beautiful, colorful, magical world. Since I have read Daughter of the Burning City, I have honestly just held this belief that Amanda Foody is one of the most talented authors to debut in the last few years. I think she really just has she has that it factor that YA authors need to really transform the genre, and I just need more people to support her because not only is she a wonderful, wonderful person, she's also a wonderful, wonderful author, and I love her book so much. I can't wait for the sequel to Ace of Shades, King of Fools, to come out next year, and I can't wait to read everything she writes in the future. I'm so excited. The next debut author I'm going to be talking about, I believe, debuted in November of 2017, and that is Jessica Townsend with Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow. Nevermore is a middle grade story that follows a girl named Morrigan Crow who has lived her entire life believing she is cursed. No matter what bad happens to her, her family, or the entirety of her community, she has been blamed for it. And on top of that, she is destined to die on her 11th birthday. Like, girl really cannot catch a break. On the night of her 11th birthday, as she's being pursued by these shadowy figures who of course will bring her to her eventual death, she is rescued by a man called Jupiter who brings her to the secret city of Nevermore. In Nevermore, Morrigan has the opportunity to compete for a place in the Wondrous Society where she has to complete 4 different difficult tasks. Nevermore is so freaking good. If you have not picked it up yet, honestly, like, pause this video, take a drive to your local bookstore or local library, do some scrolling on your phone, just like get a copy of this book in your hands and consume it. Nevermore is just so fun. Like, it is very whimsical and colorful, and it just brings all of these wonderful feelings. Nevermore is the only book I have read in like the entirety of my life as a reader that has come close enough to bringing me the same vibes that I received when reading Harry Potter for the first time. And that's like a big statement to make. That being said, while Nevermore does share its similarities to Harry Potter and just like the overall atmosphere is really similar, Nevermore 100% stands on its own as its own complex middle grade story. It's not just a Harry Potter knockoff. It's like comparable. It really is a fantastic individual story, and I think everyone should read it. The sequel, Wondersmith, comes out this November. It honestly might already be out by the time this video comes out, but I'm so pumped for it. It's just so nice to have a series in my life that is just so fun and whimsical, but also like so complex, and I'm really interested to see more because I just know that this world is going to expand to new heights that I can't even imagine, and I'm really, really excited for it. So if you have not read Nevermore yet, like, this is your sign. You should absolutely pick it up. It will blow you away. The next debut author I'm going to be talking about debuted this January, and it is AJ Finn with The Woman in the Window. This book has gotten so much hype since it was released. It's like one of the best-selling books of the year. It's got like $1 million movie deal like right out of publication. It's very, very impressive, and it deserves all the praise. The Woman in the Window follows a woman named Anna who deals with agoraphobia, which is a mental illness categorized by an intense fear of leaving the house. So she spends her days mostly by watching her neighbors. After a new family moves in across the street, Anna's life is changed forever when she believes the wife of the household has been murdered right before her eyes. When reading The Woman in the Window, I actually listened to the audiobook. I honestly had to just step back and pause a few times, just to fully take in how perfectly constructed this story is. The syntax in this novel is just literally mind-blowing. I genuinely don't understand how someone can have the capacity in his mind to string words together as he does. It's literally unbelievable. Another interesting thing about The One in the Window is it's actually a fairly slow story. The plot moves very slowly, and it does take place in a very confined setting. You don't leave Anna's house because she is agoraphobic, and yet it is still so engaging. It's truly fascinating how much this book grasped me. Also with the plot, oh my god, the plot. Never in my life have I read a book where I was just so unsure of the resolution. Every time there is a plot twist, and this book is chock full of them, I was so confident that was the answer, and then all of a sudden you'd start to doubt that as well, and it's just it's so psychologically stimulating, and I love it. So to sum that all up, I'm obsessed with AJ Finn. I think he is so unbelievably talented. I know he's in the process of writing his second book, which I expect will be just as amazing. And he's also another author that I believe I will totally support throughout my future life as a reader. I just know that his books fit so well with me, and I can't wait to read what else he puts out. The next debut author I'm going to be talking about is who I believe to be one of the new queens of fantasy. She debuted this March, and that is Tomi Adeyemi with Children of Blood and Bone. Children of Blood and Bone is a West African-inspired fantasy novel that takes place in a land called Orisha, where people who were able to do magic were very oppressed until one day magic just disappeared. Our main character's name is Zeli. She is the daughter of a magi, and one day she is given the opportunity to bring magic back to her people. In order to bring magic back, Zeli has to traverse Orisha with her brother and the runaway princess, while also running away from the prince who hates magic and wants it eradicated forever. Tomi Adeyemi is the type of woman where you just look at her and you're just how? How are you so talented? How are you so successful at a young age? How are you so beautiful? She is just perfect. Tomi Adeyemi does not have a flaw in her body. I was very, very intimidated to read Children of Blood and Bone when I first picked it up. It is so big. The magic is so complex. I'm not a super, super high fantasy person, and Children of Blood and Bone is super, super high fantasy. So I was there's no way I'm going to understand this. To my surprise, I loved everything about this book. There are really interesting characters. The magic system is just mind-blowing. I love it. I just love everything that Tomi Adeyemi and Children of Blood and Bone represents. Not only is this story so empowering to young people of color who can finally see themselves as these strong cast of fantasy characters, but also there is so much hype around this debut YA novel, and it's gained so much attention globally, and it's just really, really impressive. Tomi Adeyemi is just such a talented author that I look at this book and I'm how can I ever plan to publish a book, because my debut is never gonna be this good. Tomi is just so talented. I love everything about her. I can't wait for the second book, Children of Virtue and Vengeance, to come out next March, I believe. It's so good. It's 100% worth the hype that you have heard of. If you haven't read Children of Blood and Bone yet, you are in for a treat. It's gonna be amazing. And the final debut author on this list just recently debuted this past, I believe, July, August, maybe, I don't know what month it was, but it is Heretics Anonymous by Katie Henry. Y'all have heard me raving about this book for a month, and I am so not sorry to say that I will not shut up about it. Heretics Anonymous follows a boy named Michael who is an atheist, and after his family has once again moved, he is forced to attend a Catholic school for the first time. So there's a girl named Lucy who ends up challenging the ideals of a nun during class, and Michael's that's it, that's her, that's my new best friend. But he finds out that Lucy is not an atheist. She actually wants to be a priest. So Lucy introduces Michael to this sort of underground secret society at their Catholic school, which they have called Heretics Anonymous, and is just a place for all of the outcasts of the school to come together and vent their frustrations. But with Michael being the newest addition to the group, he wants to challenge his new friends to go public as Heretics Anonymous and begin causing some ruckus and challenging the hypocritical ideals of their Catholic school. I adore Heretics Anonymous. I loved this book so much. Like, I had really high expectations. This was on my most anticipated lists of the year. Like, I knew it was gonna be fantastic, but like even past that, it blew my mind. It's so funny. Like, it is so rare nowadays to get a genuinely funny, laugh out loud YA book. In case you've been missing it, here it is. Here is your new recommendation. But beyond the funny nature of this book, it really does deal with some intense topics. I mean, religion is such a controversial issue. A lot of authors shy away from it, but Katie Henry has been like, here it is, front and center. Let's discuss our different beliefs. And it really is just a wonderful book about maintaining individuality and pursuing your own beliefs, but also like what it means to interact with other people, be tolerant of their identities and their beliefs, and even work together to pursue a greater cause, even if you don't always agree on the means to get there. It's a fantastic book about exploring faith and friendship. I love everything about this. I love everything about Katie Henry. I'm like literally her biggest fan, and I don't even feel bad about it. Heretics Anonymous is just fantastic in every sense of the word. If you have not read it yet, if you're looking for a contemporary that will just lighten your mood and make you laugh, but also make you think, Heretics Anonymous is the book for you. So that concludes my list of some of my favorite authors to debut in the last 3 years. It's honestly just been really nice to explore some fresh new voices and see what they're capable of, and also just like support them. Like I said at the beginning, from the beginning of their careers, I'm so excited to follow these authors as they continue to publish more books and grow, not only as writers, but also just in the book world. It's just really, really exciting. In the comments below, let me know some debut authors that you've loved recently. I am always interested in checking out some new authors and supporting them, so I'd love to hear your recommendations. But that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you soon for a new one. Bye!